Ever feel like just scrolling through the news or even starting a conversation about current events is like stepping into, I don't know, a political boxing ring?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like everywhere you turn, everyone's just at each other's throats about something. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like no one really wants to dive headfirst into these conversations that are kind of tense, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But then if we don't at least try to figure out how things got this way,
Yeah.
I don't know, it feels like we're just letting this all get worse.
Yeah, I hear that. So speaking of trying to understand how we got here, a lot of you reached out wanting to understand political polarization better. So today we are doing a deep dive into, well, exactly that, the impact of political polarization on society.
Hmm.
So, to kick things off, when we say political polarization, we're talking about more than just disagreeing on which political party's got it right.
Oh, absolutely. It's much deeper than just, well, my guy's better than your guy. This
Right.
is about totally different ways of looking at the world, right?
We could be talking about just like really basic stuff even, but those core beliefs completely change how we see an issue play out. It's
Yeah.
like if you and I were standing on a street corner looking at, I don't know, just a crowd of people walking by, and you see that and think, wow, look at all that diversity. This is amazing.
Right.
But then I look at the exact same thing and I'm thinking, this is chaos. This is just too much. You know, it's the same crowd, but we're bringing totally different underlying values to how we see it.
Okay, so it's about those deeper values. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But is this level of, being divided on those values, is this a new thing?
You know, that is the million-dollar question. And honestly, it's not a simple yes or no.
Right.
I mean, history is full of times where people were super divided on big issues. Like, think about the American Civil War. I mean, the entire country was completely split. I mean, obviously, slavery was the biggest one, but then all the stuff about states' rights and what it even meant to be free.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, talk about polarization.
Right, right.
But what's really interesting is how some of those divisions eventually got better and some didn't. Like, what can we learn from all of that?
Right, yeah. Like, are there any parallels?
Exactly.
Because, one thing that feels very of this moment is how much the media is involved.
Totally.
And I don't mean just like reporting the news anymore.
Oh, no.
This is different, right?
It's like they're almost, I don't know, influencing how we see things, sometimes even without us realizing it, you know?
Yeah.
Like all those algorithms social media uses, they just show us more and more stuff we already agree with.
It's like they're building us little echo chambers.
Exactly. Echo chambers, yeah.
And then it's like that saying, you don't even know you're in a bubble until
You're out of it.
until you're out of it. And then you're like, wait a minute,
Right.
was I the only one thinking that this whole time?
It's scary.
It is kind of scary, actually, especially since, pasted text doesn't just talk about the theories.
Right.
They share actual stories from real people whose lives are, being affected by this.
Oh, wow.
And one story that, I don't know, just really stuck with me was this woman who talked about how she gets anxious as holidays get closer.
Really?
Yeah, because she knows her family's going to want to get together. But it's gotten so hard to even have a normal conversation about, like, anything current
Oh, wow.
because everyone ends up fighting.
Oh, no.
And I just thought that was so sad because I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, we could talk about the big abstract ideas,
Right.
but when it starts to actually hurt people and their relationships.
Right. That's the real cost.
That's the real cost.
Yeah.
So where do we even go from here? Is there any hope,
Mm.
or are we, like, doomed to just keep shouting at each other forever?
You know, I'm actually hopeful.
Really?
Yeah, I am. Pasted text actually offers some good solutions.
Okay.
And a big one is really focusing on honest conversation.
Yeah, what does that look like, though?
Right. So not just trying to like win the argument or score points, you know what I mean?
Right.
But really listening so you can understand where the other person's coming from, especially when it's hard.
Especially when what you want to do is yell at them.
Yes. Especially when it's someone you totally disagree with. It's about remembering there's a whole human being.
With their own life and experiences and,
Right. And like that they're not just a crazy opinion on the internet, you know?
Yes. Like, even though it's a screen, on the other side is a person.
It's about connecting as humans, you know?
So well said.
Yeah.
Finding that shared ground. Okay, so as you're out in the world, online, with your family, wherever, how are you going to handle those conversations? It's a tough one for sure. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you in the next one.